Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and you have found EP Live. We bring you the latest in everything cool every single day around here. And I have got to give a special shout out to my buddy Adrian Leon, who joined me last night in some Monster Hunter. We didn't do well, but we had fun. We were having a good time in Monster Hunter World, and I'll talk a little bit about that in my review, which is coming up very soon. We've got lots of stuff to get into today, including what's coming up in February, but let's get started with today's rundown. Electronic Arts has made a slew of big announcements during their latest call with investors. First up, EA has confirmed something that we all feared was coming and knew that it was coming. Microtransactions will soon be returning to Star Wars Battlefront 2. Microtransactions were turned off in the game mere hours before launch after a massive backlash from fans, but EA has always planned to eventually bring them back. They say that the microtransactions will now return in the next few months, although it remains to be seen if they'll make any new changes in how they're implemented to alleviate the controversy. The negative word of mouth surrounding Battlefront 2 has hurt its sales, with EA saying that they sold only 9 million copies, a million less than what was predicted. For comparison, the last Battlefront sold 14 million copies in the same amount of time. In other Star Wars news from EA, the publisher has revealed that the new Star Wars game from Titanfall developer Respawn Entertainment won't be out until the 2020 fiscal year. That runs from April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, so expect the game in that time frame. Very little is known about the game other than the fact that it will have lightsabers. The project is separate from the other new Star Wars game from Amy Hennig that had been in the works at Dead Space developer Visceral Games. EA pulled the plug on that, as we all know, and moved the project over to another developer, EA Canada, where it's being completely retooled. No release window has been named for that, and clearly we have to send some EP Bothan spies into EA Canada to find out what's going on over there. Next up, EA has delayed BioWare's online sci-fi game Anthem. It was slated to arrive later this year. So far, it's been a lot of bad news in this call to investors, but will now hit Earth sometime in 2019. EA says the game will do better if it has more time in development, which follows the rushed development of BioWare's previous game, Mass Effect Andromeda. Anthem is a much bigger undertaking, so the team will need all the time that they can get. There's a lot riding on this one. Finally, EA has officially again confirmed that a new Battlefield game is coming this fall. They had previously stated that a new one is on the way, although they still haven't said where or when it might take place. There are unconfirmed rumors that it will be a new entry in the Battlefield Bad Company universe, possibly set during the Vietnam War, although we've yet to find out for sure. That's what I'm hoping for. Given that it's coming later this year, expect new intel very soon. All right, let's switch over to some Nintendo news now. The Nintendo Switch has passed another impressive sales milestone. Nintendo has announced that the new system has officially sold more units in its first 10 months than its predecessor, the Wii U, did in its entire 5-year lifespan. Since it launched in March 2017, the Switch has sold 14 million units worldwide, which not only beats the 13.5 million units of the Wii U, but also makes the Switch the fastest-selling console of all time. Nintendo was already expecting this to happen and has increased their manufacturing output in anticipation of selling an additional 6 million Switches over the next few months. I've seen Switches in stores, so this is clearly happening. We've got big news for World of Warcraft players. They'll finally be able to experience the Battle for Azeroth this summer. Blizzard has confirmed that the next big WoW expansion will hit the PC and Mac this summer, although they haven't provided a more precise release date. First announced at BlizzCon last year, Battle for Azeroth will give players a new story set against the backdrop of a massive war, complete with new dungeons, raids, a higher level cap of 110, and 2 new continents to explore. This will be the first big expansion for the game since Legion was released in 2016. Now, the way that we're doing our rundowns now, and I probably should have said this at the top of the rundown, is we talk afterwards. So we just gave you a blast of information. Now's our chance to talk. If you guys have been chatting or commenting on any of this stuff that's happening, my big question to you, and we can come back to this, is who's still playing World of Warcraft? And who's excited for the Battle of Azeroth? I wish I had time to still be playing World of Warcraft. I had a great time when I did play it, but that feels like 7 generations ago. This EA news, though, man, holy crap! it's a little bit mired in stuff, right? Like I kind of wish that it was a little more celebratory about the fact that Star Wars is doing very well, and we've figured out how to make everybody happy with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and our expectations are that it's going to sell another 6 million units, like Nintendo is thinking for the Switch. It feels like it's more just sort of like, well, we already did all this work, so we got to kind of go back to this model, and hopefully it's figured out. I didn't hear the investor call. These are notes that have been, called by Blake to kind of get me information around all of this stuff. So I don't know every single detail around this, but I feel like the messaging from EA at this point should be all about, their message is players first, but they really need to be that now. They really need to come out ahead of all of this stuff and tell us exactly why they are players first. So the good news should be surrounding stuff like Battlefront 2. I really, really, really hope. I mean, they're acquiring Respawn, so I really hope that this Star Wars Respawn game is as incredible as Titanfall 2 is, and there isn't too much sort of meddling to try to monetize it in a million different ways. Clearly they got to make their money back on it, but I just want it to be fantastic. I want it to be a fantastic game worth every single penny first, and I want to go into that experience not thinking or not worrying about the hooks that EA is trying to put into it to try to get more money from players, and also the backlash around it too. I really want the story around Electronic Arts, because there's incredible people there, and last I heard, Amy Hennig is still at EA. So there are incredible creators there that really work hard to build awesome things, and I just want their work to be the focus, not the corporate infrastructure of Electronic Arts and the shareholder expectations and all that. So I just want there to be good news surrounding the release of EA stuff. I've been doing a lot of Buried Treasures, as you know, and I keep going back to some classic EA games, and it's a little heartbreaking to think about all of the different brands and properties and creative people that they had working through their divisions. I don't want that to disappear. EA has this unbelievable history in our industry and so much value, and that's what I want to see kind of presented in their games. So hopefully we are going to be seeing some of that out there. We got an F microtransactions already from Donnie Swangor. Mondo Blasto, I let my WoW sub lapse for a break in about December, but I expect to start playing again soon. There you go. Mondo Blasto 0 is not giving up on WoW, which is pretty cool. Adrian Leon, I wish I could return to World of Warcraft as well. I mean, they're hours in a day, and we got to divvy them up, right? And the game companies, they keep making new games. Have you guys seen Monster Hunter World? Holy crap. Donnie Swangor hasn't played WoW in about 5 years. Chris Cuthbertson is saying, I can't imagine Anthem being anything close to what the preview looked like. They got to nail those targets, man, in the game and literally as well, or figuratively. They have to nail that visual sort of target that they gave us last year. Not only for these sort of mid-gen systems, the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro, to help them sell and to sort of make them sing, and 4K gaming. It's all part of the process of us sort of gravitating towards 4K. It has to be an incredible looking game. They're capable of it. We'll see. We'll see what happens with there. We got a Doy Owen said, so happy I canceled my pre-order for Battlefront 2. I will not be looking back now that they're putting these microtransactions in. Yeah, this is not going to be good news for them, man. This is going to be a lot of hate and a lot of fury coming towards Electronic Arts right now on the internet, I'm sure. If BF Micros go over how Overwatch does them, then sure, why not? That's Mondo Blasto 0. John Matrix, I don't care about microtransactions as long as they're not in your face, cluttering the menus. Ubisoft has microtransactions, but I never see them, and I don't get them shoved into my face. Yeah, I think it's... I think about this a lot too. It's not so much that the hooks can't be there and the handout for, do you want to buy this? Take a look at this. we're going to be playing Injustice 2 a little bit later today, and I want to show you guys some Atom. I wish I was showing you guys the turtles, but they're not ready yet. You know, there's a game where you know you can buy more stuff. You know it. And there is this whole sort of loot box kind of unboxing thing to give yourself new stuff for your characters and things. But again, that's a game that has done it, I think, in a pretty elegant way, you know? Shadow of War, I didn't really notice it too much, but a lot of people hated a lot of the decisions there, I think primarily because it was a single-player game. Overwatch keeps getting sort of high praise for the elegance with the way that they handled it, but Blizzard has had a long history of just doing, you know, cosmetic loot boxes, and has understood that free-to-play audience with, you know, with their card game, with the way that they've done sort of DLC in the past. So I think they were just a little bit more attuned with it. And I feel like Electronic Arts, and I've seen some really fantastic videos about this on the internet, that EA really kind of looked at the FIFA Ultimate Team model, which they have ported to all of their sports things, and said, well, you know, we can kind of bring this and into other spaces and make all of these games live forever, and people will keep wanting to kind of invest in characters and stuff like that, and augmenting their characters. And it doesn't quite work the same. I think the sports world has trained us to be regular consumers, you know, whether it's buying tickets per game or buying a season pass and thinking nothing about spending $15 for a beer, or, you know, buying hats or whatever. And trading cards, I think, was the training for the Ultimate Team. You know, if we were hockey fans or baseball fans in the past, we had thought nothing about packs of cards, and I feel like sports games really tapped into that, and FIFA Ultimate Team really tapped into that, and the idea of trading all of these players as cards makes for a compelling loop if you're into sports and you've done that kind of thing in lots of ways in the past. But it doesn't necessarily translate to Star Wars Battlefront 2, you know, clearly. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year where we're going to see a lot of reflection and a lot of commentary around the way publishers handle that messaging, and it's going to be very interesting. I mean, EA will likely throw on another EA3, which is their sort of just pre-E3 event with their press conference and stuff. But they know they have to change the noise around this, you know, and I expect that we're going to hear some big things, and hopefully we will hear some big things from them. Didn't mind them in Shadow of War, but there is a fine line you can't cross. Thorazine 666. We spent an awful lot of time talking about how the game companies monetize their stuff, and post-launch how there's this constant stream of content ready for you to buy, and it does get a little tiresome, you know? It does get a little tiresome, particularly when you can reflect on so much fantastic history in games where, you know, it was one and done, and you got a full meal deal, and you got an amazing game, and then you can reflect on that game and think, oh my, that was so much fun. And then, you know, you play some modern games and they feel not quite finished, and you know, like the DLC plans are a little more sophisticated than possibly the polish of the final game that you spend your 70, 80, sometimes more dollars on at the store kind of represents. But I think of it all as growing pains. If Thorazine, and here's Thorazine 666. Now, if Injustice 2 added Spawn, I can't lie, I would pay $50 as Spawn rules. And that's the thing. I mean, the games industry knows that there are people that will spend extra dollars to have some cool stuff like that. You know, there it is again. EA has an investor call. It takes over our conversation about microtransactions and DLC. Paul Anderson, I like the idea of games doling out story over time, but I'm with you, Armageddon B. I don't have 5 hours a day, 7 days a week to contribute to one game. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Everybody's trying to sort of carve out for space, and it's kind of like what we were talking about with Steve Tilley yesterday. Just the idea of Microsoft making a massive play to say EA or Steam or some other kind of configuration out there, sort of positioning themselves to be more of a a service, a platform for software across a bunch of different portals, or a bunch of different platforms, like a bunch of different consoles and PCs and things like that. Could be huge. Sean Lysick, I would play Andromeda with the crazy facial animations if EA paid me a small microtransaction. I think you're twisting the script right there. Timberwolf, I bought the Batmobile in Rocket League. So did I, and I also bought the Back to the Future DeLorean. Yes, I mean that's the thing, right? Like, game companies know they can tap into it. They know that they can hook you. I love the cross sort of promotional stuff that's happening in games, like being able to download armor. Earn the armor in Monster Hunter World that is tied to Horizon Zero Dawn. That kind of stuff is amazing. And you see indie developers do that all the time. You saw Shovel Knight pop into a bunch of different titles. I love that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. Did EA address the Microsoft rumors at all? No, it's all just total speculation. And I'm sure there's a huge amount of regulatory stuff that has to be approved. We're not going to hear about any crazy deal like that. I mean, maybe it's announced at E3 if something that huge happens, but I think it's going to take a long, long time. And even when it's announced, it will take a long, long time to come into effect. Definitely very interesting days for the business behind how all of these games come out. But I really hope the script changes on EA and we get some awesome news from those guys. But we got some awesome news from Nintendo, and congratulations on your sales, outpacing the Wii U so quickly and becoming the fastest-selling video game machine of all time. Incredible. Just incredible. I didn't predict that. I don't think anybody really could predict it like that, but clearly the Switch is a very meaningful system, and I don't know how many of you guys have it, whether you're watching live or you're watching the archive. I'd love to know, how if you have it and if you feel the hype around it and the sales success around it is justified. If you still love it, if you bought it and were a bit skeptical, but I'd love to hear your Switch stories, because I feel like it has kind of changed the conversation around video games a lot this year. It's made it very fun. I see it with a lot of developer friends. I'm friends with tons of people in the games industry. Clearly, I've been doing this for a while, but there are a lot of them are my personal friends in Facebook, and I see so many of them that have jumped on the hype train or jumped on the Switch love train. And a sort of recurring comment that I get about the Nintendo Switch is that it just makes games fun again. It just goes back to a time when, and maybe it's the cartridge, maybe it's the fact that there is just limited sort of internet DLC, front page menu stuff telling you, look, you can download this and buy that and download this. Some of it's clearly available. There's DLC for Zelda, but it's a different experience. And maybe it's because there's so many indie games on there and it's a great indie machine. I just saw Scott Jones was freaking out about SteamWorld Dig 2, which was one of my best on Twitter. It's one of my favorite games of 2017, and it's amazing on the Nintendo Switch. I'm looking forward to playing SteamWorld Dig 1 again on the Switch when it comes out next month, or I think tomorrow. And speaking of next month, we are going to be talking about the 10 games that EP is most hyped for in February. But first, we have to take a look at this day in everything cool. Welcome to This Day in Everything Cool for January 31st. On this day in 1958, NASA launched the Explorer 1 space probe from Cape Canaveral, Florida. It was the first probe to confirm the existence of the Van Allen belt, an invisible shield of radiation that surrounds Earth and makes it possible for life to survive. And over the course of the probe's 12-year lifespan, it gathered more data about the space surrounding our planet. Explorer 1 was launched as part of the space race during the height of the Cold War, and although it was housed on a deadly rocket, it was one of the first launches with a purely scientific mission. Its orbit eventually decayed, and it burned up in our atmosphere in 1970. January 31st, 1997 was a red-letter day for Star Wars fans. It was when Lucasfilm released the special edition version of the first Star Wars film, which by then had been given the subtitle Episode 4: A New Hope. This new version included computer enhancements to existing scenes and entirely new scenes like the one with Jabba the Hutt. The changes were controversial, with many seeing them as unnecessary and distracting, especially the altered shootout between Han Solo and Greedo. Special edition versions of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi followed a few months later, each with changes of their own, but that wasn't the end of it. Creator George Lucas continued to make new changes all the way up to his sale of the franchise to Disney in 2012, and to this day, these altered versions are the only ones legally available in modern home video formats. Many fans are hoping that Disney will one day release the original cuts. January 31st, 1997 wasn't all bad. Square Enix released Final Fantasy VII, which many consider to be the best in the franchise. It was a massive game with massive swords, offering a huge story and fully 3D characters. And it was so big it took up no less than 3 discs on the original PlayStation 1. A North American version followed later in the year, and the game has since been ported to many other platforms and spawned an entire series of spin-offs. Square Enix is currently working on a full remake of Final Fantasy VII for modern systems. 2 years later, on January 31st, 1999, another huge Japanese game was released. Konami launched the first Silent Hill game on the PlayStation 1, kicking off their chilling survival horror series. At the time, many saw the game as Konami's answer to rival Capcom's Resident Evil, but Silent Hill quickly established itself as a memorable franchise with its own brand of scares and terrifying creatures. The series has been silent for a number of years, though. The last game was released in 2012, and the planned reboot PT was canceled shortly after it was announced. Hopefully the franchise will rise again. One last big game to talk about, Soul Calibur 5 was released on January 31st, 2012 on the PS3 and Xbox 360. It wasn't as well received as the previous games, but was still a hit, giving players the tried and true tale of souls and swords eternally retold. A follow-up, Soul Calibur 6, is coming later this year. Yeah, some incredible stuff happened on January 31st. Sorry about the Star Wars Special Edition. We had to talk about that, though, right? It was cool before we saw it, and maybe even on the day it was kind of cool. Anybody show up for Star Wars Special Edition in the theaters when they re-released it? And did you come out with a huge smile going, that was cool? And then a year later, you were like, those are cheaper than video game graphics. What the hell happened there? You'd see cutscenes on a PlayStation 1 game, and they're like, well, that's cooler than what was in Star Wars. That stuff did not age well. And yes, we want the despecialized editions released. Disney, please go to the vaults and 4K upres those beautiful babies from 77, 80, and 83 and make them exactly the way that we remember them. That would be a great gift to every Star Wars fan in the world. It's basically a great gift to humanity, especially the way that Disney wants Star Wars to be accepted by human beings. So don't forget us that saw those movies in the theater originally and want to re-see those again. So that was my on the soapbox moment about the Star Wars despecialized editions. Please make that happen. Let's talk about something that's imminent. This is we're about to have the month of February. I know we've already can notch off a whole month off of the calendar for 2018. How did that happen? Well, I think we've made 75 EP Live episodes already. It feels like we've been cooking on these things quite heavily, and I guess that's made time move super fast for me, at least. I hope it has been fast and fun for you. There's already been good games to enjoy in January, but February has got a bunch of big releases, and I didn't list every single thing, but I wanted to pick 10 or so of my favorites and EP's favorites. Or things that we're looking forward to because we haven't played these things. A lot of them are remasters, though. This is a month of remasters and games that have been released before for other platforms, but they're maybe coming to a different platform. I put 4 remasters into my number 10 slot, and I won't spend a ton of time talking about each of these, but Age of Empires Definitive Edition, and I know that they're going to be making definitive editions of the sequels as well. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus. They got to add the plus, but it's coming to the Switch. That's going to be a perfect platform to play that incredible game. They switched things around a little bit, though, and I checked it out, and it was weird. I liked it, though, and I'm looking forward to traveling with Pac-Man Champion Edition 2 Plus. De Blob 2 Remastered is coming out to PS4 and Xbox One on February 27th. I'm glad that it has been rescued by the new THQ Nordic, I believe, is publishing that. So hopefully that turns out really cool, and people dig it, and we get more De Blob because it's a great idea. You bring color to lifeless areas. Which is always a fun conceit in video games. And another big remaster or new edition or port or whatever you want to call it is Payday 2 on the Switch. Payday 2 on the Switch is going to be another one of those games that kind of shows off whether the machine is capable of being a good shooter system. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, it's a big online game where you're playing cops and robbers and you're hunting each other down. But that's one that I think there are a lot of eyes on because just like with Doom and with Skyrim, there's an interest to see how well it's going to handle, something that people are very familiar with. Metal Gear Survive is coming in at number 9 for me. I'm not expecting much out of this game, but I am certainly looking forward to it. It's the survival horror Metal Gear game that's a little bit more action-oriented. It's also got no Hideo Kojima in it, or as a part of it, and I think he has disowned any association with it. So I'm curious to see how that works. There's a little game called Fae that Electronic Arts is publishing. This is part of their Originals plan, and this is developed out of Sweden by a company called Zoink. And an interesting thing with Zoink is that they have just partnered and they are aligned now with Image and Form, who makes the SteamWorld Dig game. So there is a huge collaboration happening, and I think they've become basically one company. But it's an indie action-adventure platformer, super cool art style, reminiscent of some of the stuff that we saw with Ori and the Blind Forest. Very much looking forward to seeing what's happening with Faye. It's always a big deal when a company that is so, clearly revenue-driven and massive in scale, like Electronic Arts, decides that they want to shine a light on something a little bit more independent and smaller like this, and what they're doing with The Way Out as well. But Faye is on my list. We've got another couple of ports, Bayonetta 1 and 2, coming in at number 7 on my list, both for the Nintendo Switch for the first time. Platinum Games made these titles, and they also announced with the introduction of these games coming to the Switch that Bayonetta 3 is in the pipeline. I just need to applaud Nintendo for supporting this incredible company and this incredibly valuable intellectual property in the video game industry. This is a very, very cool design and a very cool character. Very sexualized and controversial in some ways, but just pure art, just gorgeous Salvador Dalian type, crazy creations where characters will explode into butterflies and you'll fight baby demons and giant statuesque creatures and stuff. I cannot wait to revisit Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I think I will be traveling when I get the codes for those games, so I'll be playing them on my Switch screen. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Switch handles all of that color and all of that activity, because they are incredible games to play. So that's number 7 on my list. Number 6 is another remaster. This is Secret of Mana HD. This is the old Super Nintendo game that Square Enix is porting to PS4 Vita and to the PC as well. And this is a classic, action role-playing game, and there are 3 different characters that are in the storyline, and it's real-time hack and slash with lots of storytelling, and obviously updated for a more modern age. But there's a lot of love for this game. I don't think this is anywhere near as elaborate as what's happening with the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I'm psyched to see this game and play this game again and see it, in widescreen and with HD visuals. Kind of sad that this isn't coming to the Switch. Maybe it will at some point in the future, but it'll be, maybe it's going to be something that I dust off my Vita for. I haven't played with the Vita for a long time. My 5th choice is a VR game called Moss, which we started to hear a lot about last year at E3. PlayStation, I think, is getting the exclusive on this. This is another action-adventure type platformer. One of my favorite games that launched with the Oculus Rift was Lucky's Tale, and I just like this idea of putting the VR headset on and sort of being the camera around our character. There are some first-person elements in this game as well, but this just looks beautiful. It looks like this is going to be a really, really lovely escape. And we haven't really gotten one of these character-based. There's been a couple, I forget what the name of the title is, but it was more like you tap on places and you see a character move around. And maybe that's how Moss is going to control, but I like this idea of a 3D action adventure where you're a part of the experience with your VR headset on, you're kind of like the camera, and you're interacting with the scenes in real time. Super cool. Another game that's being ported, but this is the first time that it's coming to the consoles. I played a little bit of this on the PC last year, and I loved it. It's called Owlboy, and it's a retro-style 2D platforming game. You get this kind of owl suit, these owl flying abilities, and you're able to pick up a character and kind of work in conjunction to deal with all kinds of bad guys and puzzles and objects. It's very, very well tuned. You know, a little Metroidvania kind of thing, but just a cool idea. Just the idea of wearing this almost pseudo superhero kind of suit, this owl suit, and being able to do all of these awesome things like jump through the air on these cannons and things like that. And again, crazy, ethereal, metaphysical kinds of bosses and enemies and puzzles to solve. I'm very much looking forward to that. That also is coming to the Switch as well as the PS4 and Xbox One, but it feels like, you know, a perfect game that you can play on a platform that you can carry anywhere with you. Psyched for that. There's a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I don't know very much about. It's being developed by a Czech company. I think it's called Bohemia Interactive. I'm pretty sure I've got the right name here, but this is an authentic feeling role-playing experience that's really trying to go back into ancient days and feel not so much like it's fantasy infused. It's not like The Witcher. It's more like you're just a regular schmo and you're trying to survive in a very harsh environment in sort of medieval times. And you know, you can get stabbed and killed very quickly and very easily. But the developers have professed that this is going to feel very authentic, as if we would ever know, because we can't travel back in time like that. But different from other role-playing experiences that are out there, but also very beautiful and very polished. And I'm hyped to see how that one comes together. There's a lot of buzz about Kingdom Come Deliverance. Another port, first time on the Switch. Played it on the PS4 last year. Absolutely loved the game. Timberwolf, thank you so much. And this one's to you, Blake. Well done, Blake. Thanks for saving the show. Absolutely. Round of applause for Blake. Always rushing to figure out what the hell is happening. But I was just about to tell you guys about Dragon Quest Builders, which is a phenomenal game. The Dragon Quest Builders 2 has been announced, and it will be out soon. But Dragon Quest Builders, the minute you played it on the PS4, it's like, God, I wish this was on the Switch. And of course, everybody at Square Enix was thinking of this is definitely going to happen. It is the Dragon Quest world, all that beautiful cartoony art and those great characters and that you know, beautiful storytelling and design fused with Minecraft. And if it sounds like it's a cash grab, it isn't. It feels like it's you know, great ideas kind of mesh together that crystallize into something really wonderful. The extra bit of storytelling really gives you incentive. It really gives you momentum to kind of craft your buildings and your bridges and your, you know, solve these dilemmas and these puzzles and help out the townsfolk, the town that you're building around your characters. It's wonderful. It's beautiful art. And there's lots of cool, mysterious things. And I'll tell you something. I played this with my daughter, and she flipped for it. She thinks this is incredible. She doesn't know it's coming to the Switch. Hopefully I'll be getting this. We're going on a bit of a vacation, so hopefully I'll be getting the code for this. And as we're traveling around on trains and planes and stuff, I'll be able to play this with her. But yeah, there's a lot of creating. There's a lot of building. There's a lot of sort of you know, leveling up and unlocking abilities. And it's incredibly addictive. It's got the Minecraft addictiveness, and it's got the Dragon Quest addictiveness. Insanely cool game, and it's great on other platforms as well. You don't have to get it on the Switch to enjoy it. I just have always felt like that's the perfect place for this game. So I'm psyched for that. That's my number 2. My number 1 is a game I've been playing already and having a tremendous amount of fun with, and you'll be seeing my review of it very soon. It's Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4. Again, what is it with these remasters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of my top 10, because I collapsed 4 into one of them. 10 of my top 10 are remasters, or ports. But Shadow of the Colossus is sensational. If you've never played this, you have no excuse now. This is worth going out and buying a PlayStation 4 for, even though there are tons of other great reasons why the PS4 makes a great, addition to any home theater. This game is art. This game is like every frame of it is just stunning and magnificent. I mean, you're sitting there in awe thinking, how did they design this and dream? Like, it's easy to think, okay, you can sketch these incredible ideas as 2D, posters or a beautiful, sumptuous comic, but they made it live. They made this world live. It's not vastly populated, and that's one of the ways that the developers certainly were able to achieve what they have achieved back on the PlayStation 2, mind you, and on the PS4, everything has just been finessed and tweaked and improved and up-resed, and the textures are gorgeous, and the Colossus fights are breathtaking. It's insane. It is so great, and you can roll your eyes at the fact that Sony has re-released this thing now. This is the third time. But it's still a masterpiece. It still absolutely deserved to be played. And it is even much, much better than the PlayStation 3 port, which was also an improved, HD remastering. This one you can play in 4K. You can kind of choose frame rate or kind of a cinematic kind of gloss to it. But either way, you're just going to be stunned by this gorgeous lighting and these incredibly detailed and ornate destroyed temples and ruins that you're going to have to navigate through. You're going to love it. It's an incredible game. Can't recommend it enough. And that's also why, even though it's imminent, it's very soon. I think it comes out on the 6th. That is my #1 pick for the game of coming out in February. Going to be a good month. Going to be a familiar month. A lot of stuff that we've seen before, but lots of fun coming out next month, starting tomorrow. Remasters sure make me think about your comments of older games not being playable. That's from Mondo Blasto Zero. Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly in this this state in our business now to have nostalgia front and center, and us to kind of recognize that there is value in things that have gone before. Valve has been making a fortune off of that, and all the publishers and developers that have, created a bit of a community in that space where they can sell some of their older software, and there's this kind of super long tail. Those companies have been doing very, very well, and I feel like the console business has always been about like, boom, let's get this out and let's just scrub the rest. And I saw that again even with, and I would start to comment on it with my interviews with sports game developers. It's like they would always start with this kind of dismissal of all the incredible work that had come into last year's game. And in that context, and the idea of sports titles, the idea that you want a new season with new rosters and new players, and it makes a little more sense. But it always rubbed me the wrong way that there was this idea that you just, what we did last year was okay, but, there's nowhere near as good as what we're doing this year. And the games industry, I think, falls victim to that a little too much, And that's certainly evident when you log into your SNES Classic and you play Super Metroid and you go, holy shit, this was incredible. This is still so fun to play. It's still a perfect game, Or even Star Fox with its rudimentary triangles making up its spaceships. Super fun. Still a super fun experience to play. And yeah, I feel like I love HD remasters. I love the idea of, just with a real extreme sort of fetishization of like trying to put the unbelievable amount of polish onto these things that technology allows us to do these days. I think that's wonderful. But I also believe that there is still merit and value, and frankly, it's time to allow us to access a lot of the archive that's out there in a legal way, I always comment about my love for these things, whether it's through buried treasures or when I talk about the, the SNES Classic or whatever, and people always go, you just get an emulator, just get what are those called, the Raspberry Pi, and load it up with all kinds of games. And certainly you can do that, and you can make all kinds of cases. You can say, look, I have this whole huge library and all that stuff. I think the idea is, let's get to a point. Hey, Adrian Leon, you are awesome, man. Thank you so much. You are a sweet, sweet dude. Thank you. But I sure think the idea will be to, open up the category, open up the idea of accessibility, and not necessarily pledging allegiance to a machine. and that only gives you this much content, saying, okay, well, here it is. There's your archive. There's your library. To pick anything off the shelf. There's no time limit here. Enjoy it, play it, just appreciate it. And I think we're going to see it once we get to that. I really fully, fundamentally believe that once we get to that, it will be an earth-shattering change for how video games are accepted by the world. And video games have been accepted by the world. And the sort of petri dish, the litmus test for how this goes down is how we've seen mobile explode. And people that are playing mobile games don't know that they're playing shitty games. A lot of them are playing stuff that they download because it's free. It's another match 3 game that looks like another match 3 game that looks like another, and they don't know, and they're just killing time. I walk down airplane aisles all the time, and I see people just playing the worst games. They just don't know. If they had machines that allowed them access to, download whatever they want, they're paying their monthly fee. And they have, like, if Nintendo does that, if Nintendo flips a switch and says, here's what our new virtual console is, it's everything we've ever had published on our machines, and you just pay us, whatever their monthly internet fee is, and you can access it anywhere you want, or even if it's just on the Switch, I mean, that would just be like, it's been already on with rocket boosters on it, but that would be like, okay, well, let's put the hyperdrive on the Nintendo Switch, because it'll go through the roof if they do some kind of subscription-based thing just on classic Nintendo stuff. I think that's been a harmful element of the video game industry. This constant state of these things turning into rubbish. One day on my walk home, I came across a box. And I'm not lying. I came across a box with a PlayStation 2, a Super Nintendo, a PS3, and some games that was just left out for anybody to take, and some controllers. And I took it, of course, because it went into the archive, and I have extra copies of these things in case. I don't know what I'm going to ever do with all of these things. I would love to be able to have a facility that was open to the public where people could come in and see all of this stuff. I don't know if we're ever going to need to do that, though, because I believe that we're going to go to this point where access to this content will be readily available. But my point is that all of these classic machines just thrown out like rubbish, and that's the way the business kind of treats itself. It's like, okay, well, this is done. It's over. It's dead. It's garbage. It's done. Forget that. Forget getting perpetual licenses for the music artists that we have on these games so that we can re-release SSX again. It drives me crazy. Like, this is art that these companies build, and they just go, all right, it's gone. If you got it and you got a machine that will still run it, that's great for you. But we're on to this now. Have you seen this? And look, it comes with this, and you can buy these little bits, and you can make your character better, And it's not. I don't want to sound like a crusty old guy that just thinks about the glory days. I just want to think that all of this stuff is worthwhile, and it's all worth appreciating. And I feel like because we don't, we kind of say to the consumer that maybe comes in on this time period and stays with their Wii or what have you, and then it gets all changed and none of that stuff that they bought works again, it must drive regular people that don't turn this into every part of their life crazy, Like, there's a lot of things that the business does where it's just like, well, this is just for gamers. We're hardcores. We're just this. And most people don't have the time to just be thinking in this little box, But speaking of boxes, that was my soapbox. You got me going. Any other comments or questions? Sean Lysick, would you be interested in a SNES remix? Absolutely. Absolutely. With the like they did with the NES remix where they had all the micro games and stuff like that, that would be great. Love it. Up yours, kids. This box is mine, Sean Lysick. Well, I mean, it felt like if anybody was going to appreciate a box of old consoles, is going to be me, and so yes, I brought them into the archive, and they're part of the archive. Samian111, should sports games have an annual release, or should they only release a major update as a full release and charge for minor tweaks and roster updates? I think we're moving towards that. I think we're probably seeing either sales plateau or kind of dip down a little bit, and I think the sports game industry is starting to kind of move in that direction. Although NBA 2K kills it, it's one of the top selling games every year, and it's an incredible franchise. Holy crap, it's so great. They got a lot of heat last year for all of the microtransactions and the exorbitant prices on some of the stuff in game, but still, at the core of it, it's just like, holy crap, you can do a lot of stuff that is ridiculously fun in this sports game, and that's why people line up for that game. It comes out, there's like a line at EB Games and GameStop and Best Buy, which is amazing, man. That's awesome, and I think some of that still happens with the EA sports stuff as well, but I think things like Ultimate Team and stuff like that are forcing people to kind of think more, maybe they should just make this online and you download. Question, SNES Remix. Sega got it right. The future is software, hardware cycles as necessary, but the creative properties they build and what will stand the test of time. Yeah, I mean, they did get it right. They had to, though. They had to kind of come out of the hardware space. I'm shocked that Sega hasn't done a better job at finding a way of getting us their classic stuff. I mean, they keep re-releasing these discs for different machines, but they could easily do like a Dreamcast classic update or something. But it becomes a hardware risk, I guess. I guess you can find a lot of Sega games in a lot of different ways. Like they just recently released a free app on iOS that allows you to download some of those old Super Nintendo games, and you can then choose to buy the ones that you want, or you can have the ads be served up, which is another interesting model in video games. That's the one thing about this business and why I've been doing this for so long, is that it's not stagnant. It's not boring. It's not, whereas movies and TV and radio and like every other medium, books, comics, they're threatened by this change. It's like the upheaval in the way that their media is served is like a threat to their business. It is that for games too, but it's almost like the games industry, because it's so allied with technology, it engenders that change. And in its audience, sort of gets people sort of educated to these constant transformations. And I guess what I'm saying is that it needs to do that, but it also needs to bring its history with it in a more elegant way. And I think, the SNES Classic and the NES Classic are an example of how you can do that. But even those aren't deep enough. Those things should not just have 20 games or 30 games. They should have 300 games. Anyways, that is a topic for another time. A topic for this time, or from a previous time, is today's buried treasure. I've got a great buried treasure for you. This one is called Wet, and it was published by Bethesda, and if memory serves correctly, this was one of the first games that they tried to kind of go outside of the house and publish somebody else's work. I think it was A2M, which became Behavior Interactive. I think this was one of their unique IPs here. This is about a female assassin named Ruby, which is my daughter's name. She's not an assassin, but that's cool. That was a nice thing to kind of remember and reflect on. Ruby is a vicious killer, but she's on the hunt for other vicious killers. So she's a bad guy, but she's killing other bad guys, so she's kind of a good guy. There's definitely this anti-hero kind of vibe from her. Then this whole game kind of plays like some kind of Quentin Tarantino kind of fever dream. Lots of running up walls and sliding on floors and using two guns and smashing through windows and great slice and dice effects and lots of people getting blasted and shot all over the place. Ruby can kind of withstand anything. There were some kind of disappointing control issues with this title, but it was still stylistically kind of cool. Wet isn't going to be for everybody. There's a good reason why it is a buried treasure. It didn't have the big blockbuster success that everybody was hoping for, but it did kind of set Bethesda on the path to publish other people's games, which is pretty cool. I did enjoy it, though. I thought it was funky, it was cool, and it was stylish, and it's nice to reflect on it. It's super hyper violent. It came out for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, and it puts a smile on my face. Wet is absolutely a buried treasure. I had totally forgot that the character's name was Ruby, and when I was looking at notes on the game, I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And it was fun. It was a quirky thing. I think I reviewed that with Scott, and we both, gave it marks for its originality, but it certainly had some issues for sure. But it was. You had to applaud Bethesda for going out of house and trying to find new properties. That's the game, man. You got to find new IP. You got to get it out there somehow. And Behavior as well. It was A2M back then. They had done so much third-party work and had been kind of a developer for hire. And I believe they might still be doing a lot of that these days. But they wanted to build something new. And I had visited their studio. I think I might have visited their studio for a story on Wet for EP, and they were just fired up, man, and it was great to see. I love that energy of risk-taking and trying to kind of bring something brand new out there. And Wet was fun. It was a cool game. All right, we are going to take a look at a Switch game right now that is also super fun and cool. Here's my review of Mutant Mud's collection. Now, Mutant Mudds has been around for so long now, it can almost qualify as a buried treasure. It's a fantastic side-scrolling experience where you can jump into and behind and to the back of the environments and into the foreground. Super cool ideas there. But Mutant Mudds collection on the Switch is an undeniable package. This is fantastic. You get Mutant Mudds, the classic game with all of its great levels and, pixel-perfect design. Then you get the Super Challenge mode, which don't even go near that thing until you've beat all of the Mutant Mudds stuff. It basically gives you, an escalation on the story and also ridiculous challenge, and it's wonderful. But then you also get this puzzle experience called Mud Blocks, and Mud Blocks is, you've got these, falling blocks of mud, as the name suggests, and you've got to wash them away with water. You've got to there's different colored combinations, and you've got to use your skills to kind of figure out how to wipe out all of this impending doom, this growing collection of mud blocks before they get to the top. We've played lots and lots of games like this, but it has the charm, and it's, you know what it is? It's like a somewhat of a, because it's still stressful, but it's a little bit of a stress reliever from playing just the regular Mutant Mudds game, and then when you get into the Super Challenge stuff, it's crazy. But you're gonna find all kinds of little secret areas. There's lots of little, weaponry and things that you're gonna be able to augment and collect. But it's doled out in a challenging way. You have to work for it. As we're starting to see more and more, the Switch is kind of becoming the perfect machine for games like this, which is definitely, an homage to 16-bit design, even some 8-bit design. It's all sprite-based with beautiful, precision-crafted characters that are, perfectly shaded. They have just the right amount of animation. It just looks like this work of love, and sort of admiration for a bygone era, kept alive with fantastic design and smart design, stuff that actually didn't happen in 16-bit, but you kind of believe that it did, or you connect to the fact that this may have been possible. But this is just really, really well crafted, and when you get all three of these different experiences, it's super fun. And I played this on an airplane. I think I was playing this and got totally hooked for hours and hours when I was coming back from New Orleans. This is one of those games where time will disappear and you'll get stuck and caught up in it, and it's a wonderful package. I absolutely recommend picking up the Mutant Mudds collection if you're a Switch owner. It's fantastic, especially if you've never played any of these Mutant Mud games before. You're in for a treat. Gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Love Mutant Mudds, and somebody was making a comment of Zeodrifter. Zeodrifter's from the same developers. It's Jules Washam, I think is his last name. Great guy. I forget the name of the company. I think there's been some changes in company structures there, but a retro studio that just kills it. It's now time for Let's Play and Chat, which is 15 minutes of checking out a game, and I thought today we should play a little Injustice 2. I wanted to show you guys the Atom, who is somebody that I've wanted in the Injustice franchise for a long time, and they finally did that, so thank you, Ed Boon. I kind of scheduled this thinking that by now we would have some Teen Titans noise, but we don't really yet. or not Teen Titans, I keep saying that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles noise. We don't yet, but we will soon, so don't think that this will be the last that we'll take a look at Injustice 2. What a phenomenal game. Best fighter of 2017, clearly, but just so many great inventive choices. Let's check out the Atom, and I'm putting 15 minutes on the clock, and the chat part is up to you guys. If you've got some questions or comments, go ahead and ask them, and if you put them in all caps, it helps us out a little bit. Blake's reading all that stuff, and I'm going to try not to get my ass kicked as the Atom, I think. Oh, yeah, I just went into. Oh, I'm right beside the. Okay. Here, I'll try to pull the. How's. Oh, mic over this way? Is that good? Okay. Okay, so the Atom obviously is a character, if you're not familiar with him, that can shrink in size. And he's got size manipulation. He's like the. I think he preceded Ant-Man, but he's like the DC version of Ant-Man. He's got this this cool technology, this cool. I think it's the suit that does it. I'm not exactly sure the backstory on the secret origin for this one. So Batman just won because I'm talking and chatting. But I want to show you guys the special move that the Atom does in this. It's incredible. If you haven't played Injustice 2, I do sound like I'm like selling steak knives with everything today. I get that. This isn't meant to be the home shopping network for video games, but this is incredible. Amazing game. Question?
Yeah, Z Mulaney wants to know, are you playing this on the PS4 Pro or the regular PS4?
Regular PS4. We don't have a 4K TV in here yet. If anybody wants to send us a 4K TV. So we bring in the Pro and the Xbox One X when I've got games that are sort of attached to those hard drives, but for the most part we can still play these games on the old regular 1080p settings of the regular consoles. So I don't know all of the moves. I just play this game for fun. I'm not a pro. I'm not an e-caster or whatever, esports caster. I don't know how to describe everything. I just want to show you the super because it's amazing. So I either have to get beat up a little bit or do some beating up, and then I can do some stuff. But you can see his size ability is just crazy cool. And now I've got the super, and I'm going to use it. Hold on, I'll get to the. You got to watch this. Oh, I knocked him out. So we didn't do the whole thing. Okay, I'll try to do it again. Okay, go ahead and ask me the question.
Yeah, Leighton JT wants to know who your favorite character is.
Oh man, it's so hard. I love Supergirl in this, and she's quite a bit like Superman. But I think Atom might be it. I also like Blue Beetle. I play a hell of a lot of Batman because it's Batman, but I always feel like, you know, against some of these super-powered metahumans with, you know, crazy super strength and stuff. Oh, he just wiped me out. Batman would get crushed, except he's super smart and he has the gadgets and stuff. He's super fun. You know what? Let's select a new fighter, and I'll see if I can think of some of the other ones that I think are awesome. I've loved what Injustice has done with Aquaman. The Flash is hilarious. You know, he's got obvious super speed and stuff like that. Hellboy's a great sort of tank creation in there. I've always been partial to Firestorm. This is, honestly, it's one of my favorite DC Comics anything. You know, like the folks at NetherRealm, it's like they were reading my mind. And I got so hooked on this that I went and bought every graphic novel tied to this. All the Tom Taylor stuff, everything. I got fully up to date. I read every issue. It was great, it was awesome, then it was pretty good, then it was okay, then it got great again. Just a phenomenal achievement. So let's check out Hellboy, because that's one of the more recent ones. It'll be Hellboy versus the Atom. In Gorilla City.
I have a question from Sean Lissack.
Yes.
He wants to know, do you think the Watchmen characters will ever make it into this game?
I think it's all dependent now on the tail, like how long the legs are for the game. Like if it's going to continue to keep selling, and the Turtles might be the change around. You know, they might, with the Turtles, we might see like a Rainbow Six style. You know, well, let's just make seasons of Injustice. I mean, they might have an Injustice 2 industry, because it is just about putting these characters in at a certain point, you know? Like, we need some new environments, but, yeah, it's an incredible game. And I don't think we see Injustice 3 until the PS5, Xbox 2, or whatever it's going to be called. So, and I don't know if they have the team scale to just keep making stuff there, but if they do, based on the Turtles, okay, here it could all change around. Putting the Turtles in, look at this, it's so cool, and all the characters have just these awesome. Oh my god, I love it so much. All of these animated bits that are just so fun. They don't get boring. You just are like in awe every time you see them. Now, Hellboy's probably gonna do something to me. Okay, he shot me in the face. It's okay though, I'm alright. That giant hand cannon didn't do much. We have a bunch of the Teen Titans in here. We have Starfire, we have Cyborg, we have Robin, Nightwing. I don't think they put Raven in. Raven, that would be rad.
I have a question from Michael Holden.
Yeah.
He wants to know, do you have anything to do with the video game Advent Rising?
I think I might have done some voice work for Advent Rising.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I played an old man in that game.
Yeah, I think he just wants to know what your relationship is to that game.
Well, Tommy did the music and sound effects for that. I was in Maximo, in Maximo 2, and it was just background stuff. Like, I'm not playing a specific character or anything like that. It's always a total thrill to be asked to do anything like that. It's super cool. They put my face into NHL Hits. One of the Black Box did. We did some video work for them, some kind of video front end stuff, and I used to work at Black Box. I only worked there for about 4 months in between season 2 and 3 of Electric Playground, and I didn't know if I was going to be continuing on to make TV or not. So this great opportunity to work there happened. So I became friends with all those guys. But we ended up doing some contract work with Midway and with Black Box, and then they put my face and my name into the game. And every once in a while, somebody tweets out a picture of me inside that game, and it's me with my big smiling mug. It's cool, man. It's such an honor to be asked to be a part of things like that.
KS wants to know if you think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was a step back for the series.
I like what I've played so far, but it just didn't hold a candle to this. You know, I think the story is really cheesy, comparative, and like there's great fan service in that game. It wasn't as electrifying as Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like, that was a massive step forward. And I think you can kind of say the same thing for Street Fighter 5, even though that's amazing as well. But it isn't as shocking. It's almost like, you know, when you went from Street Fighter 2 to 3, or even Marvel vs. Capcom 1 to 2. Great sort of moves forward, but not enough of them. You know what I'm saying? And Injustice 2, like, Flash goes back in time and grabs your character and smashes you against a pyramid and then some other ancient statue, and then ends his super move by running you into a version of yourself, and then he drinks a soda or something. And it's just stuff like that where it's just like, holy crap, these guys went above and beyond, you know? It's very special, and not saying that the Infinite team didn't with Marvel vs. Capcom, but it just didn't seem to have that same spark. That being said, I have not put the hours into that I have into this, and I intend to, and so I will endeavor to get you a very, very late review of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh, I'm getting hammered. It's hard to play and focus and think. And chat, but that's why we call it Let's Play and Chat. Let's pick another fighter. Let's show the Flash, because he is so cool. Let's do the Flash versus Raiden from Mortal Kombat. Let's see how that goes. So you've got Scorpion and you've got Raiden in here, and Hellboy, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I think those are all the non-DC creations so far. Ian Wren gave me this this thermos, and I freaking love it. I use it every day. My tea is hot in there, and it's so rad. Trying to figure out a way to come up with some kind of EP merch thing, but we are really busy building this stuff. So you know, hopefully in the next couple of months we'll find a way to be able to. If you'd like an EP thermos, I think it looks pretty cool, or reviews on the Run mug or something like that. We'll try to figure out a way to make cool stuff that you could buy if you would like to buy it, hats and shirts and stuff. I'm trying to figure that out, trying to figure out some of the designs, and definitely people that we would partner with to help us to get it out there, because Blake and I do not want to be taking orders and responding to people and then putting them into packages, and like, if we're doing that, we're not doing awesome things like playing Injustice 2 in real time with you guys. Isn't this incredible? It's not a pyramid, it was the Sphinx. He busts the Sphinx's nose, and then he busts it off of a dinosaur, and then another version of... It's just incredible. So creative. Oh, and he has a hot dog. So I got some of the details wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Freaking love this game.
I have a question from Sean Lissack.
Okay, Sean.
He wants to know what you think is the best video game controller of all time.
Oh, I get asked this all the time. I think the SNES was pretty definitive in terms of a D-pad and giving you an ample amount of buttons and the flexibility. Like, I think it was really transformative for the industry, and so much design was sort of predicated on the back of that, or you know, learned from that and built from it. And then I would probably say the DualShock. And the DualShock 4 is incredible, but the DualShock was, again, and I think a bit of an answer to Nintendo 64 analog controller, but making it more elegant and more useful. And they keep iterating. But I also love the Xbox controllers because they're super comfortable, you know? But I think they're also kind of refinements on what Sony had done with the DualShock. Everybody learns from each other. I'm sure I've created an uproar in the chat right now.
I need aid to protect Earthrealm. Begin.
One more with Raiden and the Flash. See, that's so cool. He's so fast that he's punching him. Oh, I have to put the Flash power on. He's punching him, and then the hits come afterwards because he's faster than real time. Amazing game. You guys could totally hear me button mashing. Drinking a soda. I got this. Yes! You know, the game that we all want is Marvel versus DC, or DC versus Marvel. And I would love to see the Street Fighter team, or the Marvel vs. Capcom team, do one, and the NetherRealm team, the Injustice team, do another. And so we'd see two different versions of it, like they were trying to do with Street Fighter versus Tekken. We never got the Tekken versus Street Fighter, right? I don't think so. We did the Street Fighter versus Tekken game, which was pretty cool. Not as triumphant, I think, as we were all hoping. But then the Tekken versus Street Fighter didn't come out. Is it still in the works? I doubt it. Well, they just haven't officially canceled it. I hope I'm wrong. Let's pick some new fighters here. What is your favorite fighting game? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Where's Sub-Zero? I got him. Oh no, I have Scorpion. No, it's Sub-Zero. I thought it was Scorpion. Sub-Zero. And let's choose Green Lantern. Let's see how this goes. All right. And so the thing with this game on EP Home Shopping Network is that you get all the kitchen knives. No, but you get you can level up every single character. You can put all kinds of different costumes and outfits and change those, and then re-roll all that stuff. You can find the look you want and put the stats you want based on your achievements. And so you never stop earning in this game, and all of that's that's just for, it's all just joy. And so you can play this thing like you're playing Diablo. You're basically hunting the great stuff all the time, and it's so much candy. Like I could easily play this every single day, and we would never see other reviews on EP. But it is my cup of tea, this kind of a fighting game. And I'm not great at it. I just like, it brings me great joy, this fighter. It's just awesome. Every time I load it up, I spend an inordinate amount of time like in the costumes, checking out if I'm level 5 on Supergirl so I can wear the level 5 outfits. And then I'll play as her a little bit so I can unlock some of those level 5 outfit pieces. There we go. Okay, let's see the Sub-Zero Super. Ouch.
Magnavox 1972 wants to know if there's a chance of us uploading the classic reviews on the Run and Judgment Day episodes alongside classic EP episodes.
Yes, we are doing them chronologically, and I just thought of what we should do, and I haven't talked to you about this, Blake, but I don't know if the pilot episode that we shot for Electric Playground with Tommy is digitized or handy or where. I think we should have Tommy on, and we should watch that collectively in real time and talk about that experience of working together on that pilot for the first time. I think that would be a super fun episode. So yes, we will get to the reviews on the Run and Judgment Day stuff, but we are, by the end of the year, because we're doing one every week, I've kind of scrubbed the getting to the milestones and putting things up, just because now I like this idea of classic episodes going up on the weekends so that you guys can all be in your pajamas and you get your bowls of cereal and sit down at your television or your computer. You can watch this stuff on consoles, right? So you can watch it on TV if you want to. But you can eat your cereal and watch a classic episode from the 90s and pretty soon the 2000s. It was in 2002 that we launched Judgment Day and separated Reviews on the Run into their own program. So we're a couple of years in chronological order away from starting to run that stuff, but it won't be years before we start putting those episodes out there. But we want to do it all. It's just all it's all kind of time consuming, and we don't have tons of resources to be able to do that. I keep thinking, should I do a Kickstarter? Should I do a Patreon? Should I do something to kind of give us a big lump of money so that we can hire people to just put all of that stuff together? Or does it just make more sense to get it up there the way that we're doing it in pieces? I feel like we post a lot of content, and what's fun for me and what's fun for Blake and for other people that we work with is to be current and to stay up with all of this stuff, because this is really fun to play the new games and see the movies and talk about all the crazy news and stuff out there. So I don't want to put all of our efforts and energies into our classic stuff, but just like I feel like that with the video game, the software, I feel that about the archive that we have. We have the best archive on Earth, the best video archive that exists out there, because for a long time we were the only camera crew visiting these studios and getting these interviews. And I definitely want that preserved, and I want it to be shared, and I want to do it right. But it's either time or money to be able to do that. And if we give up time doing what we're doing to do that, then we're not going to be able to do what we do. And I think this brings us a little bit more joy every day than the idea of just focusing on our classic stuff. Long answer, good question. But that wraps us up. The alarm went off a little while ago. It's time for us to conclude this very fun episode of EP Live. Thank you for sticking with us for a couple of those snafus. We now recognize that OBS does not like a million pieces of B-roll, so we won't put a million pieces of video clips into the next EP Live that we're going to do. I do have an announcement, though. I'm going away on a holiday in the next couple of days, so we are taking a little bit of a break from EP Live. We're going to be doing the rundowns like we have been doing them for the last couple of years, as normal. You may see me pop up in different places over the next couple of weeks. But we're going to continue to, Monday through Friday, have new rundowns. We're also going to do This Day and Everything Cool. There will probably be a scattering of reviews in there as well. But EP Live will return when I am back in Vancouver. But rest assured, new stuff is going up every day on the EP channel, and classic stuff will be going up on the weekend. And thank you all very much for being a part of the launch of EP Live. I really feel like this is a great new format for us. I think it brings a lot of the best that we do together, and we recognize that we need to improve and finesse and tweak, and we'll do that. And with your constructive criticism, we'll continue to get better, and we'll make it more fun, and we'll have awesome guests, and we'll do some really cool segments. And 28 is going to be a blast. Or 2018 is going to be a blast. Okay, everybody, that wraps us up for EP Live. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back tomorrow with the rundown. We've got tons of video content for you to check out. If you do check it out, and if you do like it, hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too. Thanks for watching, everybody.